Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. The first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I am your host, Butch, and I am joined today with Captain Patric Garmeson with Ugly Fishing as my co-host. How are we doing today, Captain Patrick?
Man, doing well, doing very well. Weather's pretty, water's pretty.
Finally, right?
Fish are biting.
Man, it sounds like all kind of fishing's heating up all the way from the beach all the way to way offshore. Man, I'm excited for this week's report. We got some good stuff coming.
Good. Who we got lined up this week?
We're going to talk to the Bama Beach Bum. Going to get an offshore snapshot from Tom Hilton, see what's going on out there on those charts. Going to talk to Capt. Peeples for a swordfish and an offshore report, and get the inshore report from you and Captain Blood, Captain Richard Rutland. So we'll kind of see what you guys have been up to. I know y'all fish kind of different locations. You know, we'll get the whole spread.
This is gonna be a spread for sure. We better this might be
strap in. Strap in. This could be a lengthy one.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
What you been up to, man?
Man, really fishing anywhere from the causeway all the way down to the beach and even a little bit out in the Gulf. Speckled trout are just about everywhere right now, behaving just like speckled trout should in the month of May. They'll eat lures, live shrimp, artificial shrimp, croakers. I was thinking about throwing the net on some pogies today. I mean, I feel like they'd probably be chowing down on some pogies as well. So if you found some good bait size pogies, that'd be a good option as well.
Did you see that 31-incher that Dr. Josh caught?
Yeah.
Golly,
yeah, that was
man.
Pretty fish.
Released a 31-inch trout. Kudos on the release, man. What a beautiful fish.
Absolutely. Fish still look really green and real healthy, swam off strong, man. It's an awesome deal. You know, anytime you get to have a trophy like that, in my opinion, just to have that fish, embrace it for a moment, set it back in the water, feel it kick off it's very rewarding to me. Yep. Some people maybe don't feel the same way. Some people want to put it in a cooler and haul it around, and more, you know, that's to each their own. But it's once I reached the level of a I guess just appreciation for the fish itself. You know, the fish gave me a good.
It's where you are on your journey.
Battle. Yeah, the fish gave me a good battle. I was able to fool it into biting. It gave me a good battle. You know, it gave me a good picture, and I give it a good release. So give and take, and hopefully it comes back full circle, and I get to do it again. You know.
That's right. I'll eat his little brother instead. You were saying about redfish?
The redfishing thing for me has just been kind of hit and miss. I mean, some days when we set out to try to target them, we may completely strike out. The other day, we made a long drift on a nice shoreline, a lot of bait, a lot of life. And about the time we were getting out of like the mullet and glass minnows and stuff where it looked good, we ended up catching like 6 redfish and a flounder all in one spot. Right. So, you know, I guess if you wanted to just stick it out on redfish right now, you could probably still get it done. I talked to Captain George Harrison the other day. He said he had found a good redfish bite not too long ago over in the Sound. So there are some redfish around, but for me personally, in the areas that I generally target redfish, it's just been kind of okay to a little bit lackluster. The cool thing is we're still talking flounder, still finding flounder in a lot of the areas where we are targeting trout and redfish in shallow water.
Great to see. Great to hear.
Yeah, I really haven't run across many in any of the deeper water areas that I've been fishing, but really anything that's like 6 feet deep and shallower where we've been targeting redfish and trout, we've been picking up a flounder here or there. So that's been a real win. And then my dad, he's been beating around on the causeway a little bit, and he's been catching a few, just about at least one, seems like about every trip. So
that's awesome.
Not barn burner great anywhere that I've heard, but I mean, it's doable and definitely better than what it was.
That's great to hear, man. Well, I'll be curious to see what Captain Richard's seeing on both of those fronts as far as redfish and the flounder as well. Let's get right into this thing, man. I'm ready to hear from the beach bum. I know he's been doing a bunch of beach fishing. He's got some pompano hemmed up over there. We have a great Alabama saltwater fishing report lined up for you guys this week. But first, let's hear who's making the show possible. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFTCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vexus lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. And also brought to you by AFTCO, American Fishing Tackle Company. AFTCO's fishing clothing is designed to handle the harshest elements. From cold tournament mornings to the humid summers of Florida, their products are built to handle the extreme. They're proud to hear customer stories about the 20-plus year-long life cycle of their AFTCO products. Their passion for the outdoors goes beyond their products. They're committed to protecting their fishing resources and angler rights. Through their 10% pledge to protect and conserve, your purchase of any AFTCO product directly supports conservation initiatives. Visit aftco.com. That's AFTCO.com to learn more. And also brought to you by Yactix.com. Yactix Kayak Rentals and Guide Service, providing unique and engaging experiences for anyone on the Alabama Gulf Coast and surrounding areas. Their kayaks come fully equipped with everything you need, including fish finders, nets, stakeout poles, fish grips, pliers, fishing poles, and bait and tackle. They offer a wide range of services to fit any weekend agenda. Let them deliver your boats to the launch, guide you through some of the best fishing spots, or accompany you on a relaxing hands-free pedal through the beautiful and scenic coast. They welcome all, from first-timers to seasoned veterans. More information available at Yactix.com. All right, guys. Today we're going to talk to Thomas Hilton and my partner over at Northwest Florida Fishing Report for an offshore snapshot. Let's see what Mr. Tom Hilton's up to.
What's going on, Butch?
Oh, man, not too much, Joe. Just glad to be back at it this week, man. How we doing over there?
I'm doing great, man. How about you, Patrick?
It's been good. Been really good, actually. The dreaded word transition, I think, is over.
Yeah.
And the fish are kind of spread all over the place, but willing to bite. So now when the wind blows, you can just get on a leeward shoreline and should be able to pick up a good mess of fish and keep the rod bent.
Yeah, it's funny.
Man.
Funny you bring up transition. We've been talking about that a lot on the Northwest Florida show because that's what they've been facing too. You know, the transition and the patterns are a little bit different as you go from the Emerald Coast over to Mobile Bay and Orange Beach Gulf Shores, but it's still a transition. They're not. It's not a stable pattern. Found out last week those fish are starting to fall into a more stable pattern. And speaking of transitions, you know, in blue water and far offshore, it's constantly transition. I mean, there almost is never a stable period out there. It's always those fish are transitioning somewhere based off currents, based off water, based off altimetry. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And that really brings us into this week's offshore snapshot. You know, we like to check in with Tom Hilton, Hilton's Realtime-Navigator, once a month or so, and see what's in store for us offshore out there. Tom, welcome back to the show. Tell us what you're seeing from the satellites. What's it looking out there? What's it looking like out there in the Gulf?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, thanks for having me back. I always enjoy talking with you guys. Well, I mean, we've got this big warm core eddy that's parked out there kind of southeast of the Fats and around the weather buoy, the 42039 buoy. But just to the west of it is a massive upwelling nutrient-rich cyclone that's reaching up towards Petronius on the north side, and then through the rigs and all the way out to Green Canyon, out to Marco Polo and Bigfoot and BW Pioneer. And so all of that is really contributing to a great kickoff to the fishing season. They just had this Louisiana tournament this last weekend, Louisiana Billfish Classic, and they caught quite a few blue marlin, and I think Breathe Easy, Moncherie, I think won the catch and release with 6 releases on the blues, and then Breathe Easy was right there with them, and just kind of faded back on the last day a little bit, but they came in with 5 and came in second, and then they caught a really nice bluefin as well. And then Caleb Richardson off of the Houdat, he wasn't fishing on the Houdat, he was fishing on, is it Deep Shrub Fishing? I'm sorry.
You're getting old,
I'm not
Tom.
looking at my notes. No, man. I know. Old timer's disease.
I did see Caleb's fish, though. He had one die on him, didn't he?
Yeah, he hung into a really nice monster early Friday morning, and it ate a 25-pound yellowfin.
Wow.
And he fought it for 20 hours.
Wow.
And then it finally shook the hook on him.
Nuts.
And I mean, anybody that can fight a fish for 20 hours, I got to tip my hat to them, because
No doubt.
that's no easy feat, you know.
No doubt.
And then they ended up hooking into a smaller one and getting it in pretty short order. It was 622 pounds. one
Smaller one.
Right. Yeah.
Baby.
What a tournament for those guys.
Amazing.
I'm so happy
man.
for them.
God, that hurts me just to hear a 20-hour fight ending up and not ending up the right way. That's bad. Hey, I want to take you back. I want to take you back to something you said. And we've been over this in the past on the show, but I think it's always good to revisit it for our new listeners and maybe folks that have missed you in the past. You know, you talk about these warm core eddies and you're talking about this massive upwelling west of the Fads. Tell everybody again, explain upwelling and downwelling and which one's good and which one's bad.
Well, the downwelling, you know, let me just back up and say that the location or the position of the loop current and the warm core eddies that spin off of it are really key to why y'all have such a world-class fishery there between Louisiana Delta and Destin, because it's a massive downwelling current, which is you don't want to be in the middle of it anyway. It's pushing everything down, including the nutrients. And so ultimately there's nothing to eat. And that's the nutrients are the beginning of the food chain. And so for every action, there's a reaction. So when you're pushing that water down, it's got to come back up. And so a byproduct of these warm core eddies and the loop current are the creation of these nutrient-rich upwelling cyclones. And it brings those nutrients back up to the surface and it interacts with sunlight, and that's again beginning of the food chain, and then it's very conducive for feeding and nurturing the growth of the fishery out there.
Yeah, so the phytoplankton bring on the zooplankton bring on the little fishies, and then on up the chain from there.
Exactly.
And that's how people are using Hilton's Realtime-Navigator. One of the ways they're using it, we're going to talk a little bit later in the show with Adam Peeples and his amazing weekend in the swordfish shootout, and learn a little bit about altimetry a little bit later in the show. But one of the things that we talked about last week, and I think that this is one of the areas where your service really shines, is being able to reverse engineer. Last week, it was actually we were reverse engineering why we had failed, not reverse engineering necessarily why we'd had success, but both can be done, right? Take me through how you can use satellite imagery to look at where you've had successes and failures and plan for your next trip.
Yes, knowing where not to go is just as important as knowing where you want to go. So wasting your time in a dead sea, per se, is you're wasting your time, you're wasting gas, and you're getting frustrated. So what you need to do is, and don't take my word for it, we just provide you the platform with which you can go back and look and see why you were not successful on that day back in years. I mean, 2014 or whatever. And so it's a great learning tool to understand what is very, very important to pay attention to and what may not be that important to be paying attention to. Of course, depending on what or how you're fishing, if you're open water fishing versus fishing the surface structures, there's different tactics and things you have to pay attention to. For instance, the big assumption with altimetry is that the bait is free flowing with the open ocean currents, but with the introduction of these deep water oil structures like semi-submersibles and drill ships and spars, the bait is no longer free flowing with the open ocean currents. It's sticking close to the structure, even though the bad altimetry may move into the area, the bait's not leaving. And so when we first launched the site, in fact, it'll be 18 years exactly in 3 days on May 7th was when we launched it back in 2004.
Wow.
And back then we told everybody, hey, avoid these big red bulges in the surface of the ocean, these downwelling currents at all costs, But over the years we would get reports, hey man, I was over there at Nakika, and it was in really bad red altimetry, but we slayed the tuna and caught a marlin.
Yeah.
We kind of had to adjust our thought processes on that as we went. We're always learning. Nobody ever knows everything, and that's what keeps me interested. Is I'm constantly learning and learning from my subscribers, from their feedback, and it helps me to understand even better as we go. And so going, for instance, one great example is this young guy out of Venice back. Well, let's see, Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005. And so all of those guys all networked together, Has out at Mars Ursa. That's where the push was, today. So they would all kind of work together to help each other. Well, all of that, besides the infrastructure, all of that networking was all destroyed by the hurricane. And so this guy signed up with Hilton's in March of 2006. And he didn't know what to think about us, but he did know he had a catch log where he had caught like 25 billfish over the last 18 months. And so he went back in time on the site on all the different imageries on the archives and went to the spot on the day that he caught these 25 billfish. And 23 out of the 25 were in a 0 to negative 20 altimetry position. None were caught in water cooler than 78 or warmer than 88. I didn't have chlorophyll back then, so I didn't know, we couldn't make a call on that. But what I really like about what he did was by doing this type of analysis and homework, he was learning on what to pay attention to about where to go tomorrow based on his experience, not what I'm telling him or what the site showed him, because he wasn't using the site when he caught those fish.
Right.
All he knew is that's where he caught his fish. So that's what I really like. It was kind of it wasn't biased. In other words, so like in a scientific experiment, if he were using the site, and then I would say that he was biased because the site told him to go there.
Right. Absolutely.
But he wasn't. So
Yeah.
he just reverse engineered, and then it kind of corroborated what the site was showing. It's kind of like, having a lure in your tackle box, and you say, well, I catch all my fish on this lure, but I never catch any on this one. Well, you're never catching any on the other one because you're always using the other one.
Yeah, it's not a fair.
Yeah.
It's not a fair assessment.
You're biasing your result, right?
Yeah,
So,
correlation is not
anyway.
causation for sure. Patrick, I would imagine, think of how valuable it would be if you could go back and look at every big trout you'd caught, over the years or just these significant fish and be able to pull all those data points and really learn from. And I think most good anglers who spend a lot of time on the water, they start to have an internal clock, so to speak, where they kind of know, hey, this time of year, these kind of conditions, I kind of remember what I was doing last time I saw this, and I'm going to recreate that and find success that way. But just imagine being able to go back and look at your log and then compare it to all those atmospheric conditions and different weather conditions and things that were going on. I would imagine it would reveal pretty amazing patterns with just about any kind of fishery.
Absolutely. It would, and I've done that. I've done that before. Like I've just gone back and just simply looked back at some pictures that I had saved of myself or other anglers that were catching fish. This was years ago, and they just about always seem to line up with some sort of moon phase or something like that.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff. Well, Tom, one of the things that is awesome about what you're talking about is that the technology's there, right? It's easy. It's easy for somebody to get this imagery through you guys and look at these things and be able to even get it out on the water. But the other thing that you bring to the table is somebody can pick up a phone, give you a call, and really say, look, I really want to focus on wahoo. I really want to focus on blue marlin or yellowfin tuna or whatever it is that they're really trying to target out there, and talk to you and kind of learn. I mean, I love that you said this altimetry, the vast majority of those marlin were caught in this altimetry and in these water temperatures. Yep. You've got that kind of knowledge from your network, and people that have used the service for a long time and things that people can look for. And that's invaluable as well. So if folks want to reach out to you and learn more about Hilton's, talk it over with you and kind of see, what they might be missing by not looking at these things before they head offshore, what's the best way to get in contact with you and check out the website?
Yeah, it's hiltonsoffshore.com. My contact information has my cell phone and my email address on the contact page. And if I don't answer, I'll get right back with you as soon as I can. And I encourage all of my subscribers to give me a call if you have any questions or issues using the service or the Nav app. I'm here to help you as best I can. I just got off the phone with a guy down in Puerto Vallarta, and he's like, man, we're not catching any fish. It's slow. We're over there by the Isla Madres, and can you help? And can you send me some images on the WhatsApp, because he was having a real hard internet connection time there. And I was like, yeah. And so I pointed him about 25 miles to the southwest, because where they were fishing, there was no current. And really what you're looking for are current edges, at least some good current edges, and your temperature a little bit warmer, which we're looking for this time of year still. And so I'm waiting to hear back. He's going to give me a report back this afternoon. But I get a lot of job satisfaction from that. You know, guys calling me on a sat phone. Hey, I'm over here, by Chub K. Where am I? Where do I need? Oh, yeah, go over about 6 miles over this way. I had a guy about 2 weeks ago. We were at a party, and he was exclaiming about that time that he called. Made him a hero, because they all picked up lines, went over 6 miles to the east, and caught a marlin in 5 minutes after they put their lines in. Stuff
Man,
like
that's
that.
incredible.
So,
Wow.
That is so cool. And it's amazing what technology is out there. But again, you got to know, you can look at those charts all day long, but you got to know what you're looking for once you get the images. And that's a lot of the value you bring to the equation as well. Well, Tom, thanks for joining us again, man, giving us that snapshot. We're going to look forward to talking to you again next time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good talking
Thanks,
to you
Tom.
guys.
Talk soon, buddy.
Good
Thank
talk.
you.
I can just see Tom sitting there in Texas, like he's, like the marionettes. He's got like the puppets on the strings. He's like, all right, we're going to send some people over here in North Carolina, and then send these guys down here in Bahamas, and you get a fish, and you get a fish, and you get a fish.
Hey, results speak for themselves. I mean, not much else you can say about that, really. It works, man.
Well, I'm just blown away by the level of service that he's willing to provide.
Yeah.
Not only does he have the technology and everything there for the fishermen to go and just about zero in on where they need to go fishing, but not only that, he's like, hey, give me a call if you still need some help. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable service.
Yeah, no doubt. And, check out the June issue of Great Days Outdoors magazine. It's a really good article in there on finding the best tuna fishing, where we interview Tom, and kind of like what he was talking about there with the blue marlin. There are certain conditions that stack up really well for yellowfins, for example, in the Gulf of Mexico. And they're not always necessarily the same as what you'd want if you were focusing on marlin. So that's a really good article on, once you've got the imagery, being able to actually do something with it, use it, and know where to go. Very cool stuff. Well, guys, I got to go wrap up the rest of my report. I know y'all got to get to y'all's. Enjoyed it, man. Always good talking to you guys.
Yep. We'll talk to you next time, man. Me and Patrick got to go get the rundown on the Alabama saltwater.
All right. See you, Joe.
All right, Captain Patrick, it's always good to hear from Tom Hilton over at Realtime-Navigator, man. Let's go ahead and get our first report of the day started. Let's go see what the Bama Beach Bum's up to. Welcome back to the show, Bama Beach Bum. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good, man. Just enjoying this springtime weather, getting some good fishing in. It's been exciting, man. We've had some really incredible opportunities here these past couple of weeks.
Yep. Weather's finally looking up. We were just talking about that, man. It's time. Seems like everything's kind of heating up from the beach all the way offshore. We just got a great snapshot from Thomas Hilton. And Adam Peeples has an incredible report. He caught a bunch of swordfish, and it's been great, man. So, yes, I agree. Wind finally stopped blowing a little bit.
Yes.
Finally get some chances to get out there. So kind of walk us through what you've been up to. You've been Pompano pounding?
A little bit of everything, man. I've been bouncing around so much. We go through winter, and it feels like such a long period of time leading
really
up to
does.
this. There's so much anticipation. And, like, when it finally gets here, it's almost surreal. Like, I can't believe this is happening and there's fish again, but it happens every year. But yeah, I've been bouncing around a good bit, man. I mean, I've been doing some pier fishing. Spanish bite has been hot on every pier that I've been on. You can load up on Spanish. I've been doing some pompano fishing. Pompano fishing has been great. Even started seeing the trout in the surf. I spent a couple of mornings already throwing some top waters for trout off of the beach. So, this time of year is so fun because you really can mix things up so much from land. Like, you know, this is the time of year you don't have to have a boat, you don't have to have a kayak. You can be on your feet and catching just really any species you want right now. The only thing that stinks, we have in the last 2 days, what's been the bad news is we have had sargassum that's pushed in to the beaches. So that's been a difficulty to overcome. Fish are still there, and if you can find those open patches and areas that are fishable and you can deal with it, you can still catch fish, but it's just dealing with that sargassum. But fortunately, it's not the June grass yet. You know, we'll hope for a good year on that, but the sargassum will push in and out with the wind. So we just need a good wind to get it out of here.
Is there anything that you can do to combat that grass, or are you just kind of hosed?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is just move and try to find open area that is not as saturated with that grass. And that can be difficult. It can definitely ruin your day beach fishing. Maybe worth hopping on the pier. You know, pay attention to the tides too. So like incoming tide is generally going to be worse. So you might have a better opportunity on the backside of an outgoing tide, taking that grass out of the area a little bit. So you may just have to play and tweak with that on when your best windows are going to be. But that's the only challenge right now.
Well, whenever you have been beach fishing and have been able to get away from the grass, what's been working and what have you been catching most of? You say you kind of been all over the place. Yeah,
the Pompano bite's been really good. And right now, I'd still say that's your strongest target. The only, we are starting to see we're on the back end of our spring run, getting into summer. So these water temps are getting up. So we are seeing a lot more species, which can be good and bad depending on what your goals are. I mean, you're going to be catching a lot more of your hardtails, your ladyfish, different trash fish that we categorize them as. So, I mean, if you're just looking to catch fish, there's plenty to go around. But if you are specifically looking for those pompano, you will have to weed through those a little bit more now, especially using those natural baits. They're just going to be all over it. So we're starting to see what that transition into those warmer water temps. But if you want to try to avoid some of that, like you want to get away from the set rigs, maybe you've been, doing mostly that so far this spring, chasing these pompano, now is a good time to start transitioning into those artificials. You have a lot of opportunities at Trout and Spanish in the surf. So you can throw huge spoons or, the 1 ounce diamond jigs. You can throw those, really far off of the beach for the Spanish, or you can throw topwater plugs or twitch baits for the trout. So you have a lot of options either direction, whichever way you want to go.
Diamond jig is always great to catch Spanish on for sure. What you're throwing off the pier too?
That's what I throw on the pier because I can throw it a little further. I would say based on being out there, and I've caught Spanish on it, but those gotcha plugs on the Spanish on the pier, you just can't beat it. Like the guys throwing gotcha plugs on the pier are just wearing them out. And I big wins on the beach just because you can cast it so much further, especially if you're dealing with wind and all that. Like you're going to be able to reach the Spanish because sometimes they are a little bit further out. Whereas that gotcha plug just does not have the casting distance as a diamond jig. But on the pier, yes, I would say gotcha plugs or even like little pompano jigs. Those work real well on the pier. Anything that kind of darts back and forth pretty good, where you don't really get that action out of a diamond jig. A diamond jig's more of just kind of straight retrieve type bait.
Yeah, for sure. More of a flutter situation. What about jacks? You seen any of your fellow jacks yet?
Yeah, I've been seeing them, man. This time of year, they get kind of weird, like
still in that weird phase.
Yeah, like I've thrown at them from the pier, but I've just not been able to get them to eat. I've seen probably 4 or 5 schools and thrown in them, and that could be part of it. And I can get them to like fire off on it, like they're all kind of nipping at it and darting at it and looking at it like they want to eat it, but I just can't get them to commit to it. I haven't spent a lot of time yet because like in the summertime, as we get even warmer water temps, they do tend to get a little bit more fired up. And that's when I'll start to focus more on chasing them with the topwater poppers and the big spoons from the beach. But right now they're there, like there's schools of them, and you can find one that will eat, but it's a little bit tougher this time of year from past experience and just from what I've seen to get them to fire off as good as they do in the summertime.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I was like thinking exactly what you were saying, is that whenever it seems like once that water gets over 80 and stays over 80, And then heck, even jacks are good well into 90-degree water temperature. So it just seems like, to me, they're always a lot hotter water fish. And then when they're coming out of the summer, going into the fall, they seem to stay chewing pretty good until that water gets back into that mid 70s range. And so that definitely that 80 plus is the sweet spot for them.
Soon.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're seeing what I saw in the bay today was we've been seeing like 80 to 82 degrees in the bay. So
nice. Maybe they'll fire off pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm ready. That is definitely my favorite, especially from the beach. Targeting
sure.
those big giant jacks is so much fun. But yeah, it's weird, and I've learned that more just being able to observe from the pier, seeing these schools come through and throwing at them and seeing how they react to bait in the springtime versus the summer. The pier is a great place to get that kind of data, because you spend all day out there, you see a bunch of schools come through, you see a few different people throwing different lures at them and how they react to it. It is really neat. So I've just been able to gather that information over the last couple of years, spending time on the pier and just seeing that once we hit summer, they get way more willing to eat whatever you throw at them, whereas right now they're a little picky, a little weird.
Hey, Bama Beach Bum, let's talk a little bit more about like your maybe a little bit more about a setup for catching trout off the beach. If you're throwing artificials, and with having to deal with some toothy critters like some Spanish mackerel, they can be a little bit troublesome and taking some lures and stuff. So what are some ways that you can maybe catch both species or not lose too much gear while you're out there?
Yeah, so I hate wire, so I actually never use wire. I use 50 to 70 pound mono or fluoro, just depending on the day and kind of my mood. But that heavy a line, in addition to the diamond jig, really helps because, and I don't lose many at all, because, with that diamond jig, it's a fast retrieve. So you're moving that lure really quickly through the water, and it's only got the single treble hook on the back of the lure. So when you are moving it that fast, when you only have that one treble hook on the back of the lure, you're hooking that fish at the back of the lure that's probably an inch and a half, sometimes 2 inches, depending on the diamond jig. So it's plenty far enough away from your leader that those teeth won't cut it. I do check my leader every so often, because sometimes, you get in a school of them and they're just all nipping at it and they will nick your leader. So it is good to check that every so often.
Hey, Beach Bum, what's the redfish status been like? I haven't been seeing a whole bunch of them in the bay like I normally would. What about you out there on the beach and on the piers?
Are you talking about those big schools of them? Is that what you're looking for?
Man, I don't care. Redfish, if
Any
it's got
redfish.
a spot on its tail.
I want it.
Yeah. What's the word?
Okay. Well, as far as those big giant schools of like the really copper ones that are just, like a different breed of redfish out there, I've only seen one school while I was on the pier. And they didn't hit the pier, but they got real close, and they were firing off. You could see them blowing up in the distance, and they swung in just out of casting range at one point. That's the only big school of them I've seen. But as far as in general, we have had some success around the passes when we've set up with cut bait. Like, we've caught a few redfish on days that we've targeted them fishing that way, just bottom rigs with cut bait, just being prepared for it. And haven't had any like banner days or anything, but we've caught a few when we've attempted it. But yeah, I mean, right now, that's the great thing about right now. You can really target whatever. I mean, there's so many options. And, anytime you set up on the beach close to those passes, those inlets, wherever, that's always a great place on the beach to look for those redfish and throw out your cut baits.
Yep, that's a great point, man. Well, we got to get a tip from you before we let you go. Anything in the past week or so that has made a big difference for you as far as being successful on your trips? Yeah,
this time of year, because we've talked about so many different opportunities, it can be overwhelming, and it is good to pre-plan as best you can, just understanding what species is your main target, going to a beach that's going to be set up for that species, whether it be your whiting, your pompano, your redfish, setting up at passes, trout, setting up, in areas that those trout are going to be more likely to hang around, usually along with those redfish. Pompano, making sure you know where your cuts and holes are. With the whiting, making sure you got some deep water up close to the beach. Just understanding your structures and understanding what beaches are going to be more productive for whatever species you're going for. And just paying attention to water conditions, water clarity, And understanding that before you go out, you can look at the wind and the swell conditions, understanding what that water is most likely going to be like on an east side or west side of a pass, depending on the wind direction. Just looking at everything before you go, pre-planning, having a game plan. Anything, you can have success really anywhere, but you just want to set up in the area that's going to be the best opportunity to target whatever species it is you're looking for that day.
That definitely makes sense, man. As far as finding out, things change all the time with beach stuff, storm to storm. As far as figuring out where your cuts and your gullies are, do you use any kind of imagery for that, or are you just literally putting boots on the ground looking at that stuff?
Yeah, because it does change so much, like looking at satellite imagery.
It's way outdated, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not up to date. So the only time I look at satellite imagery is anytime I'm going to an area that I've never been and I just need to know where the access is and how to get on the beach. Outside of that, you just have to get on the beach and physically look and see, look for those structures and look for those. And of course, if you get to fish a lot, like I do, and I don't know that everybody gets as many opportunities as me, but I'm real familiar with the structures and what beaches look like what. And, it may be worth it, depending on how much time you have to fish, to take a day and just plan on jumping around and looking at all the structures so that you kind of have a good understanding of what areas are going to be most likely to hold fish, instead of just getting out there and worrying about fishing. Yeah. If you got a week coming up and you're going to be fishing all week, go hit 4 or 5 beaches and just walk up and down and just look. And, that way, if you get stuck in one area and you're not catching fish, in your mind, you got a couple other places that you can go hit and try that you've kind of already scouted out.
That's a great tip in itself. Yeah. Like I was just about to say, you guys pre-fish for tournaments and stuff. I mean, if you're going down for a week and, you have, 4 or 5 days to fish, it might be worth it to have a scout day. That's a great tip.
And in this time of the year, you can scout and fish at the same time. You can go there with a lure, some lures or whatever, and hit all those little troughs and cuts and stuff, and maybe catch a couple trout while you're fast walking the beach,
or Spanish or whatever.
What's going on? Yeah. Yep. I like that, man. That sounds like a dang good plan. Somebody coming down to hang at the beach for a week, go ahead and bust out that first day as a pre-fish day.
Yep, I agree. I like it, man.
Scout day.
We appreciate the report as always, Bama Beach Bum. If folks want to follow you on the YouTubes and the Facebooks, type in Bama Beach Bum, right?
That's right. Yeah. Any of the socials, I'm on all of them. It'll pull me up.
We appreciate it, man. Be safe out there, and we look forward to talking with you next time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, folks, that was an incredible report. Let's take a quick break and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by United Bank. United Bank knows what an important role agriculture plays in our local economy. At United Bank, they are here to support local farmers with financial products and services designed specifically for agribusiness, including real loans for farmland, equipment loans, working lines of credit, and more. Truth is, they deeply value the contributions agriculture makes to our communities, and they help our local farmers build successful businesses. They want to see you succeed. Learn more at unitedbank.com or stop by any United Bank branch. United Bank, all loans subject to credit approval, equal housing opportunity lender, member FDIC. And also brought to you by the Hunting Exchange. In this day and age, we all know it's a struggle to sell hunting equipment on a large social media platform, and that's where the Hunting Exchange steps in. Hunting Exchange is an app for iOS and Android that gives you a one-stop shop to buy and sell your hunting gear. Whether you're looking to sell your bow, broadheads, technical apparel, stands, saddles, or anything in between, this secure platform allows you to buy and sell gear with confidence. As a buyer, each dollar you spend is insured by PayPal, and as a seller, there are no hidden charges like other platforms, and listing items is also free. Gone are the days of having listings removed from Facebook and worrying about being banned and removed from groups for wanting to sell something as simple as your bow or knives. So head on over to the App Store or Google Play and experience a new hassle-free way to buy and sell hunting gear by downloading the Hunting Exchange app today. And also brought to you by KillerDock. As anglers, we put a lot of time, money, and passion into fishing, but most of us do not have a fish cleaning station that we are proud of. Many of us are suffering from dock dysfunction. A rotten table with rusty metal, this is just no good. But the dock enhancement that we've all been waiting for is finally here. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. All right, Captain Patric, we're going to head on down and get our inshore report from you and Captain Richard Rutland. I'm very curious to see the differences in where you guys have been fishing and also the similarities. What'd you say, Cam Blood?
What's shaking Hulse? How y'all doing today?
So far, so good. We're only one report in, but I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Oh yeah.
If I was any better, I'd be you, Butch. But about to come up on your birthday tomorrow, huh? Ain't nobody told you didn't told everybody it's your birthday tomorrow, huh?
Nope. Well, the good news
Yep.
about that is,
And how you turned me down on taking you fishing on your birthday because you got to work. I mean, who goes to work anymore, man? You should be catching fish.
I know. Trust me, I would much rather not be working, but somebody's got to pay the bills around here.
Oh shoot, they'll get paid.
Yeah, that's right. By somebody. Hey, the good news is about my birthday is I was over in Destin last weekend with Joe hanging out. Me and Hank and Joe went fishing for 3 or 4 days. And I was telling Joe I was pretty upset that I was going to be in my late 30s, because going from 37 to 38, 38's that's a late 30. And Joe's the same age as me. We're about a month, not even a month apart. And he goes, dude, we're turning 37. So I got a whole year back. So that's a good thing. I was 100% certain that I was turning 38. So
that's a pretty good win right there, my friend.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, 38 ain't too bad. I'm 38, and I'm still here.
Oh yeah, still kicking like a spring chicken.
Hell yeah. What do you always like to say? A meth head on a pogo stick?
That's right. That's right. All the energy. That's right. Age is just a number.
That's right.
That's right. Are we talking about birthdays or are we talking about fishing on this thing?
Fishing primarily.
Let's get into some fishing. I already called Butch old earlier, and I'm older than both of y'all. So let's roll on.
Let's forget about the birthdays.
Let's get into some fishing.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Patrick. Anywho, today I had a great day today, man. Pretty exciting for me. Did my first wade fishing trip today down around the south end of Mobile Bay, and had a blast with one of my oldest customers who I've been taking. Heck, I was taking my buddy Peter. I call him my buddy. He hires me, but he's one of my buddies. Me and my dad used to take Peter just for fun. Peter Cook, he lives over there in Rock Creek and Fairhope. But Peter and I went and did a little wade on the south end of Mobile Bay this morning, and struggled a little bit to start out with, and then found a little school of fish, and it was not a big numbers day for us, but the size of the fish what stole the show this morning, and the two patterns that really did it were topwater and grubs. Peter was throwing a topwater this morning, and he caught the biggest fish of the day for sure. It was about a 24-inch fish, and then I was throwing a
good one.
Throwing a down south super shad. They're the big 5-inch grub that they make on an 1/8 ounce hoagie jig head. It caught several more. Like I said, it wasn't like a big numbers deal. I think we only caught about maybe 8 or 10 there at our first stop. But like we didn't catch anything less than a 20-inch fish. It was just an unbelievable size morning that we were on. And then we swapped over and went and fished around Dolphin Island, kind of back in the backwaters, I guess you'd say, of Dolphin Island. And finished up on some real nice overslot reds. They were about probably, we were wading, so I didn't have a measuring board, but they were probably anywhere from about 28 to 31 inches. Caught those on the B-Cat slick, and Peter also caught 2 more over 22 inches on that. And then I also caught the highlight from my day. Peter was the one that was doing all the work today with my customer this morning. He was the one that was doing all the glory hounding. But I caught 3 flounder on 3 casts on the B-Cat slick today.
Wow.
It was crazy. I felt like I was on a damn school of them, like it was speckled trout. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you
like,
what you
flicked
found.
it about 3 times. And
You found you a nest.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Flounder nest.
The biggest flounder, the big one that I caught out of the 3 on back-to-back casts was about 22 inches. So it was a real nice one, about a 4-pound flounder. You know, it was a fun day, man. Golly, but I tell you what's funny to me about just the overall, I guess we'll just call summary of everything within the past week and a half is it just like a switch flip, and all this bait showed up on all the shallow water flats, and all the bigger size fish showed up. And it's like, I'm having to, like 2 weeks ago, it was like I was stretching every fish to get them to measure. And then now I'm like trying to have to beat people off of, hey, that fish is over 20 inches. We don't keep that size fish, you know, we don't keep trout over 20 inches, you know, and you say, hey, we need to let this one go, you know, kind of thing, you know. And it's just funny how that switch kind of flips, and everything just kind of comes to life, and everything just starts happening all at once and in a bunch of different places, doing all that kind of action down around the island, and then up on the north side of the Mississippi Sound, around you know, Grand Bay and Portersville Bay and all that kind of stuff. You're starting to see, you know, a lot better size fish just all of a sudden show up, and a bunch of mullet and bait and life, and like you're catching fish, and you get them in the boat, and they're throwing up little shrimp and whatnot, seeing bird schools, and it's a really exciting time of the year. Patrick, are you seeing some of that too over there on the east side?
Man, I've seen everything you've talked about. I've seen it from the Causeway all the way down to Fort Morgan. Really haven't done a whole lot on the west side of the bay, but man, I've found birds diving on shrimp. Trout were mixed in with them. Today we saw trout blowing up in schools of mullet. We've been catching trout deep. We've been catching them shallow, shrimp, artificial. It's been a magical week or so for speckled trout fishing for sure. And actually, I would say probably almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, isn't it funny how we just all of a sudden everybody starts singing the same tune, man? I would just love to know what that condition is that just really starts making the fish chew like that. You know what I mean? Just all this life just starting to come together and to start taking place. I would just love to know what I guess it's got to be a water temperature thing. You know what I mean? You got to wonder if it's water temperature, or if it's moon phase, or for May, or whatever it is. You know, we just had the new moon a couple of days ago. I guess it was early last week or late last week. You know, it's just always a magical time of year.
Yeah, or all of
right
the
here.
Yep.
Yeah, right here where we're at right now. You know, and
I think we ended up with a good culmination of a lot of things coming together with the moon phase, the water temperature kind of staying a little bit lower. I wouldn't say lower than normal, but just it's been staying a little cooler. Then it shot up pretty quick, about 7-8 degrees or so in most places. The water all of a sudden started cleaning up everywhere. That would be the only thing that I've seen that limited some areas of fishing, where if I had a wind that moved some muddier water into an area, then it really shut my bite down. But if I had literally from the Causeway all the way down, if I was in good water around a little bit of bait, there were some active speckled trout in the area.
Yeah, the water definitely cleaning up, I think, did a lot for everything deal. Because I think on Saturday I had a trip, and I had to pick up at Fort Morgan, and I had just run across to Fort Morgan on Friday from Dolphin Island. It was like you could just tell looking at the froth in the wake and whatnot, you know, that it was fresh across the bay. And then Saturday we had a bunch of east wind, and whenever in a big incoming tide, and you start to look at the river levels varies down to, I think last I checked, maybe yesterday, was at like 4 feet and dropping still. So when I was running back across on Saturday, just the water was pretty green and salty all the way from Dolphin Island over to Fort Morgan and back, you know. So that started to tell me a lot of things, is that, hey, there's about to be a lot of fish about to show up in a lot of places, you know, and I need to start bouncing around and looking at early summer, late springtime places, you know. And sure enough, it just really came together, you know. It's for me anyway, it has. I've almost been on some of my charters, been kind of like just guessing, stopping at some places I hadn't fished yet, and catching fish, which has been fun, you know. So kind of my advice to anybody right now about to go fishing man, if you got a favorite like early summertime spot, that's where you need to go right now. Kind of what Patrick was talking about, shallow water, deep water, kind of anything and all the above. It's kind of what it feels like to me right now.
That's funny, man. 2 weeks ago, it was a totally different report. I know we took off last week. I did a special show, but goodness gracious, you go back and listen 2 weeks ago, listen to this one. Y'all think we're crazy.
It's funny just how all of a sudden everything kind of comes together, you know what I mean? And they just kind of just show up all over the place everywhere, That's kind of the fun part about kind of late spring, early summer. I wouldn't say we're kind of completely out of spring yet. That's the fun part about it, man, and they're eating plastic. For me, they're eating plastic and we're catching fish on bait both ways. We even caught some real nice fish on some croakers the other day. I had some guys that kind of a little bit inexperienced the other day, and they were reeling croaker in after croaker after croaker, and I was throwing them all in the live well, and then sure enough, we got on a bite of some better sized fish, and on catch them on popping cork and shrimp. And this one fellow was like, he saw me putting a croaker on my line that's about to throw it out there. He said, "What are you about to do?" And I said, "I'm about to throw this croaker out there and catch a speckled trout." And he said, "There's no way they're going to eat that big a bait, There's no way, And sure enough, I threw it out there, man. And I think I like threw it out there and pulled a little bit of slack off and set it in the rod holder. And about as soon as I set it in the rod holder, I saw the freaking line get tight, and set the hook and handed the rod off to him. And caught about a 22-inch speckled trout. His mind was blown, just absolutely mind was blown. Could not believe it. And he was like, "Golly, these fish are hungry out here." I said, "Tell me something I don't know."
Yep. Sounds like Captain Richard's been finding your redfish some, Captain Patrick.
Yeah, he said he's caught a few, huh? You got anything else to report on the redfish, Richard? I have been a little disappointed with my redfish efforts last several weeks. It's been maybe one day out of a week where I feel like I did okay on redfish. How have you been doing? Have you been targeted them at all?
Well, that's good to hear that we have switched roles. That I guess the redfish that you've been killing over there on the damn east side, they decided they like us west side brothers over here in Mobile better. Because the redfish has been good. The wet redfish has been good over here, man. Last week I got on 2 different times. I got on really good schools of reds out on the Gulf Beach, down on the west end of Dolphin Island, and got like a bunch of nice sight casting opportunities. And then even up there, like on the north shore of Mississippi Sound, I've had several days where we're catching into the 20 to 30 reds at some spots over here, so it's been really good.
That's good stuff,
in my opinion. Yep, no, it's been a lot of fun. And today I had a guy, we were catching him on that big cat slick or whatnot, and they were all kind of like overslot size, and it's just, man, the redfish has been great. I always hear you talk about your red fishing over there, and I'm always thinking, damn, what's going on over here on the west side, or I started to kind of maybe get worried for a little bit, you know what I mean, about the slot size fish, which we're kind of all worried about redfish right now with the redfish kill we just had, but I feel pretty good about the population after the past couple of trips has been real good.
Well, that's good to know. Then I'll be sure to tell everybody that's looking for redfish to head your way.
Head to the Sound. That's right.
That's right. That's like all those trout that are over there on that Fort Morgan beach, man. They're piled up, stacked up there like cordwood.
Yeah, they are. I saw them out there thick.
Hey, can I tell y'all a funny story?
Always.
Yeah, I used to always hear everybody talk about fish are stacked up like cordwood, right? I used to think cordwood was like a type of wood, like a tree, like there was a cord tree. I didn't know like a cord of wood was like a truckload full of wood or whatever. So here I am running around, just following, what are we going to call it? Like redneck IQ or something, that cordwood was like a truck full of wood or whatever.
You got to get me some of that cordwood. Everybody's talking about it.
I know, man. I thought that was funny. I'm just going to tell himself,
That's funny. That's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
man,
report.
it's kind of wide open, and there's a lot of unturned stones out there. As we're talking about this report, we hadn't talked about any of the deep water stuff in the bay or down in Mississippi Sound or anything like that. And I haven't fished a lot of those places, man, but everything's got to be kind of coming together right now, so it's one of those kind of times, like I was saying, if you got a favorite place, a favorite way to catch them, you better be getting after it because they're probably there.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I mean, don't worry about it. Like, one thing people ask me, like, if we're in conversation and I say, yeah, we got them good down here, and a lot of guys ask me like, oh man, you get a report from down there? What made you go down there? I'm like, no, man, I make my own reports.
Right.
So this is the time for our listeners to go make their own reports. You go pick your spot, go find the setup that's going to work based on the conditions this weekend or next weekend or whenever you listen to this thing, and go make it happen and make your own report.
Yeah, and I tell you too, kind of what you're alluding to there, Patrick, is kind of what I've been trying to do my past like dozen trips or so is try to do my best to land on a good bite first thing in the morning for my customers. You know what I mean? To get them on a good bite, get them some keeper fish in the box, and do that. And they're like, hey, what do you think about going and looking around in some new territory, or what do you think about going and doing this? And they're crazy ideas, but I throw them out there, and most of the time people bite. As far as my clients go, like, oh yeah, let's go do that, and sure enough, it's the time of year. It seems like it always works out, like I had like I was talking about some of those redfish down on the west end of Dolphin Island. I had got on a real good bite trout early in the morning down there in the north part of the Mississippi Sound. And I was like, hey, conditions are good. What do y'all think about going to the beach? We go out down there to the beach, and sure enough, like sight cast about a dozen redfish. And that's just kind of what I think about this time of year. Is no idea is too crazy right now. You know what I mean? To making a big run, to a big move, and going and seek and destroy type of attitude. I think is the type of attitude to have right now, because like I said, like we both just said, there's a bunch of fish all over the place, so, and I just love finding them. That's the fun for me, is finding them, catching them's easy,
Absolutely.
Finding them, that's the hard part, is finding them.
And it's as much rewarding to find them and get it done and bring it all together. But Richard, I wanted to ask you, looking at the tides for this weekend, it looks like we're starting out with pretty low water and then incoming all day, late afternoon high tide or early afternoon high tide. How do you plan around that? What's your thought process on, do you start deep and work shallow? Do you start shallow, work deep? Or you stay on the same kind of depth range all day? What's your thoughts on that for this weekend?
That's a great question. So I live and die. I swear to y'all, I live and die by the NOAA tide gauge, right? By looking at the real-time tides of what the water levels are where, and there's a gauge at West Fowl River, Bayou La Battery, Dolphin Island, East Fowl River, Dog River, the Coast Guard station up at the Causeway and Mobile River, Chickasaw, all that. And I look at that, and I know in my mind, based on where the water level is, where I can go and where I can't go. You know what I mean? So I know when it gets to 1 foot on there and rising, I know where I can go and where I can't go. Or if it's a negative, it's down at 0, I know that I can go. There's a bunch of places that I can just wipe out of my memory, as far as where I'm going to go, like what is fishable, you know what I mean? What is fishable water? Because you start to get in that 1.5 feet of water, as far as talking about shallow water. And I love shallow water. That's my thing, is I love doing the shallow water thing. And so when you start getting 1.5 feet of water, you can get to where the fish are in the boat, but you can't always get them to bite, because I feel like the displacement of the boat and the noise of the trolling motor, and you're, walking around the boat, this, that, and the other, you can't always get them to bite. I feel like the fish are there, but they won't always bite when you get in those low water conditions and whatnot. And so what I usually try to do is try to set myself up when you have low water conditions like that to, let's just say you're fishing like an island, like a little shell island or grass island and whatnot. I usually, like where I usually would start like 100 yards off of the island, I'll start 200 yards off the island, like get on out away from it into where I'm in that like 3 to 4 foot of water, drifting up into 2 to 1.5 feet of water, and try to find the school that way.
Okay. So staying with the same idea of go to your favorite spot, but if it's
Expand
a
that a
shallow
little
water,
bit.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Yep, just kind of take a little bit more conservative approach. Get on out off of whatever you're fishing to have water depth. Because I swear to God, I feel like when I see my bottom machine start reading like 2 foot, 1.5 feet of water, I swear I feel like I don't have any confidence I'm gonna catch any fish. So that's where I kind of, like I said, I like to stay out off of it and take a little bit more conservative approach to where it is, and paying attention to the conditions. But you could do it the other way around, kind of what you were talking about, asking me about going and doing a deep water pattern before the shallow water pattern. And that's definitely something I've done in the past, where you have real low water in the morning. We're kind of getting into a period right now where we have lots of deep water, more deep water options than we're used to at this time of year. So it might behoove you to go and slip cork at a rig, or go fish like the East End jetties at Dolphin Island, where you got plenty of water depth, or things of that nature. And then as the water level comes on up, move on up onto those flats. Because I've definitely seen it this time of year where I've run like 2 trips in one day, run a morning trip and then run an afternoon trip. And then as the tide level gets on up, that afternoon bite's a lot better than the morning bite was, and you're fishing kind of the same areas and same things. So something to think about. And like I said, for everybody who's listening, that NOAA Tides and Currents website, I live and die by that website. And I know Patrick watches it as closely as I do.
Yeah, I watch it a lot too.
Yeah, even when I'm not fishing.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't fish very much, but I'll be on my couch going, "Yep, it's cresting right now on East Foul."
Oh yeah, yeah.
We have a sickness. We have a sickness.
That's right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, even when I'm not fishing, man, I'm checking that jacket 3-4 times a day.
Yep.
Oh man.
Well, man, that's a great report.
That's a good one. Yeah, Butch, maybe I'll shoot you that link to that Mobile Bay, and you can post it on there on the show. Everybody can check that out, because it's very, very, very useful. Like I said, I live and die by that thing.
Yeah, and the reason for that is, correct me if I'm wrong, is you can be on East Foul and or Dolphin Island. It's not that far away, but it can be an hour or an hour and a half off from what the predicted tide is supposed to be. So that's real time, and you know exactly what you're doing. You're not guessing, because it can be way, way, way off. I know we've hit on that before, but the predicted tide is not always what's happening in real time. It could be several different factors. Could be wind direction, could be all those kind of things.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I mean, I picked up little things too. Like, when you see the tide change happen, and, there's no knowledge out there saying this, but I'm just saying, when the tide change happens, like, just say the tide bottoms out at Dolphin Island, it comes up in Bayou La Batre and West Fowl River before it does at Dolphin Island and on up the bay. You know what I mean? So there's kind of like, those things.
Yeah, it's a lag
to look for and think about. Yeah, there is. And of course, if you read the tide calendar that the state puts out, of course, like from Dolphin Island all the way to the Causeway, there's a 2-hour difference in what high and low is, but knowing and paying attention to those little things, I think are the key to being successful, and judging the tide, right, where you can be when.
Yep. Makes a difference on where you need to be right then.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right,
Good
boys.
stuff.
I enjoyed talking to y'all today. And
Heck yeah, man. Sorry I can't join you tomorrow.
Oh man, I know. It's
Hope y'all get one.
Be a good one. Well, hopefully we'll have a story to tell. Hopefully we'll have a story to tell.
I hope so too, man. We appreciate the report as always. You guys be safe out there. Folks want to get up with you and book a trip. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Check us out on coldbloodedfishing.com. You can find my contact information, give me a call or text. We're on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Awesome, buddy. Like I said, y'all be safe, man. We'll look forward to talking with you next time.
All right, bud. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right. See you, Richard.
All right, folks, that was an awesome inshore report from Captain Patric Garmeson and Captain Richard Rutland. Let's take a break and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. The recent thunderstorms that have been producing wind and hail in the area may have damaged your home's roof. The certified roofing pros at Foster Contracting offer free roof inspections, and if your roof has received damage, most homeowners will have little or no cost out of pocket when going through your insurance. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com, as well as Photonis Defense. Photonis Defense is proud to offer the PD Pro line of night vision systems. The PD Pro series is the world's smallest and lightest night vision goggles built around the Photonis 16mm filmless 4G image intensifier tubes and their hybrid filmless 18mm image intensifier tubes. The ultralight, ultra-compact night vision systems deliver cleanest image, best resolution, smallest, most transparent halo, and best overall performance and function of any night vision system available. The PD Pro line consists of the PD Pro M 16mm monocular, the PD Pro B 16mm binocular, and the PD Pro Q panoramic night vision system. Photonis Defense, masters of darkness. And also, the Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers who harvest gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper that their catch must be reported through Snapper Check. This includes vessels, kayaks, and shore anglers who possess any of these reef fish. Reporting is mandatory and must be done prior to landing fish in Alabama, regardless of where the fish were caught. Anglers can report to Snapper Check online at outdooralabama.com or through the official Outdoor AL app. For more information about Snapper Check or any of the 2021 fishing seasons, please visit outdooralabama.com. All right, Captain Patrick, let's head on down and get our last report of the day, but certainly not least. I know we told Joe goodbye earlier, but here's his ugly face again. It keeps popping up.
Dadgummit, I see Joe twice in one day.
You can't quit
seen him
me.
in months.
You can't quit me.
Oh, man. So, yeah, this is going to be the offshore report. We're going to get it from Captain Adam Peeples with Joe today on the Northwest Florida Fishing Report.
Adam, you had quite a weekend. Tell us about it.
Yeah, man. We made a big move off of where we really wanted to fish and where we usually fish, and took a little bit of a gamble going someplace we didn't have a whole lot of experience fishing. I think I'd fished there once, and the other guys on the boat may have fished there once or twice, maybe at the most. But, you know, the bottom line was that that's where it looked good based off of what we could see on Hilton's, and we knew where we were wanting to fish wasn't good. So, yeah, man, we rolled the dice and went over there and found a pretty steady swordfish bite for that 2-day tournament. You know, we had 18 bites and caught 16 of them. So it's pretty dang good fishing, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. How many did the old Diamond Boy hook up for you, old Jet? He come through for you on this one?
He hit quite a few. He took 0 at nighttime because that boy is asleep at nighttime.
I've heard he's quite the sleeper.
Listen, he's getting his beauty rest. There ain't no doubt. He's a grown boy.
Man, that is awesome. So
that's incredible.
For 16 bills in 2 days, man, that is that's something. So you ended up winning the tournament with aggregate, right? Give me a little rundown of what the tournament was and how you guys fared.
Yeah, I mean, it was just basically 2 categories. You had a big fish, and you know, which we did not come close to winning. That was a real nice fish they caught. And then you had the 2 fish aggregates, which was what we ended up winning. And, we'd hoped there was going to be a catch and release category, which we were pretty fired up about because we felt confident that we could produce some pretty good numbers. But they nixed that a couple days beforehand. So we're kind of bummed there. But yeah, man, I mean, it was just everything you want a swordfish tournament to be, man. Not a whole lot of rules and nitpicking, just go out, catch them, bring them to the scale, and we'll see what they weigh kind of thing. It was a lot of fun, man. I really, can't thank Captain Shane Toole, who had a big hand in that tournament, and Chris Phillips, those guys, man, putting it on. It was awesome, and I can't wait to fish again next year.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. I'll tell you, I saw some pictures, and I was just impressed that y'all had that many flags on the boat. I mean, like that was
really ambitious.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, you're like, yeah. I mean, we got to have at least 40 or so swordfish flags to hang up on the riggers.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that.
That's the no-name. That name's always got plenty of flags. I promise you that.
Hey, man, you needed them apparently. So that's cool. So, obviously, like we talked about last week, and what's really cool about how you used Hilton's was that you reverse engineered some tough trips that you had to kind of figure out what's going on, because all the other factors were lining up and pointing to this should be good. This should be good. Why is it not good? And you were able to pinpoint that altimetry issue. So take me through when you said you made a big move. Was that based off of what you were seeing on the charts that you just needed to get into better altimetry, or just, what has to happen there when you see that bad altimetry?
Well, I mean, it's just one piece of the puzzle. And, as we spoke last week, looking out of the spur area, which is where I typically fish, trying to figure out why was the fishing not good there? Why were the swordfish not in there? If I spend 3 days in an area sword fishing and I don't catch much of squad, I'm pretty much going to say they're not there. And so I assume that. And looking at all the factors on Hilton's I could look at, the only negative aspect was that the altimetry just wasn't great. You had the wrong current feeding into the spur in the canyon area. And so that led me to say, all right, well, we've got this tournament coming up. We need to figure out another place to fish that within range of, we left out of Destin. So, we're in a boat that goes 25 knots. So we need to find some place that is realistic to go to for this tournament and that has fish. And so, yeah, man, it was just a matter of, spending a couple hours the evening before, just kind of vegging out on Hilton's and playing around with stuff and looking at stuff and looking back at last year's data and the year before that. And man, at the end of the day, it was a roll of the dice. And we got lucky, but that was certainly a big help. Being able to look at that stuff. I can't imagine not having that to be able to look at and then having any confidence in a decision as far as that goes. I would have been like, it's just a total guess at that point without it, so it's definitely, man, for my purposes, it's an invaluable tool.
For sure. Game changer, man. Yeah, I know that 25 knots really hurts you. That's really slow.
Right. Yeah. Like we'd be super happy back in the day to go 25 knots.
Oh my God, that's blazing.
Running 55 everywhere, and how things have changed.
The conditions that we were fishing in, I was very pleased to be in the boat that went 25. Had air conditioner and a shower, and man, it was brutal out there for the first 36 hours. So yeah, it was nice to be in that boat.
Yeah, you welcomed the comfort.
Absolutely.
Well, man, this may be a very stupid question, but talking about where you usually fish around the spur and all that, do you think those fish move whenever those conditions aren't right, or they just totally shut down?
I don't think they're there. Of course, this is one of the big reasons I like to tag swordfish, because I want to figure out where in the heck they're going and what they're doing.
Yeah.
My theory is that all these northern Gulf fish kind of fluctuate. They kind of move around. They'll be off the river sometimes. Sometimes west of the river is better. Sometimes the spur is going off. And what I have noticed is a lot of times when one area is just really, really going off, usually the other areas are slow. And so I just tend to think that for whatever reason, like the water was abnormally warm because of the current that was feeding the spur. It was way warmer than normal this time of year. I'm sure that played into it. I just think that and swordfish have parameters in their head that they want to be in. And if those parameters aren't there, then they're just going to go where they are.
You think they'll make a couple 100-mile jog, no worries?
You think about how fast one of those things can swim. At a leisurely pace, it can cruise 10 knots. So he's swimming all the time. So, do the math, 24 hours of swimming, and there you go. So
sure.
Yeah, and you think about, Butch, it's kind of funny you were talking about tagging, Adam, and Butch, you actually caught a fish that Patric tagged, or vice versa? You caught a redfish inshore, right?
I think, well, there's been two circumstances now. I think that, yes, I recaught a fish on Dolphin Island that Patrick tagged over on the eastern shore. And we just got another one recently, and I don't think we ever dove into that one. But yeah.
So I mean, you just think about a redfish, 3-pound redfish. If he can swim, no problem from Eastern Shore Mobile Bay down to
50
Dolphin
miles.
Island,
Right.
then 100-pound swordfish, it's just not even a thing for them,
I guess I was just curious.
I was thinking the exact same thing Butch was like, are the fish there just not biting because the conditions aren't correct? That's what I feel like with speckled trout. There's a lot of times where the conditions are muddy, maybe it's a little bit fresh from rainfall, and then it's like all of a sudden they bite the second the water gets better.
Right.
I'm always in an opinion that the fish are close and nearby, just not feeding under those conditions. So I was intrigued by the question as well, Butch.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's just cool that you were able to, basically search the Gulf and find them. So, did you guys find that it was the same tactics? I mean, did you change anything up at all? You had several days of struggle. Do you ever feel like with swordfish, when we talk other fisheries, inshore, near shore, guys will say like, hey, the bite's been tough. And so I started to want to finesse things a little bit more. I'm scaling down, or I'm changing my bait and things like that. Is that ever something that needs to be done with swordfish? Do you ever find changing bait, changing presentation is ever a thing, or is it more just about finding them? And if you find them, they're going to bite?
I mean, I personally believe it's more about finding them when they want to bite, because I don't really feel like they're very picky ever. Maybe one or two fish I've ever cut open has had just one thing in its belly. It's always like a random hodgepodge of stuff. So I don't think they really get keyed in on one thing or anything like that. And, listen, if I go out there for a day, like tomorrow I have a swordfish trip, if I were to go out there tomorrow and not get a bite, I would feel like I could probably go out there the next day and have a great day, typically. It was just the fact that I had been in there and fished for 3 days straight, and fished lots of spots and fished multiple baits, and just the general lack of activity, the lack of bait show. That's why I felt like they weren't there. There are times I know for a fact, especially on the full moon and moon phases, that they don't feed very well sometimes, where they are there and they're just not feeding. And I mean, heck, just during the tournament, you're sitting there fishing for as long as we did. You have spans where they bite good, and you have hours where they, you'll have several hours where they're not biting at all. It's just their feeding cycle. I mean, they're going to have their feeding cycle. But the thing about a swordfish is he eats a lot. He's got to eat often because he's big and he's getting bigger. And so those things aren't going to go for, 3 days straight without feeding, without turning on. So
yeah,
it's a great thing about swordfish, man. It's all theory because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
You can't study them.
This is something I was wanting to ask you. I was thinking about this week, and you're talking about a fish that's big getting bigger, and you hear guys talking about when they're targeting marlin, with live baits. I mean, we were just talking with Tom Hilton. He's talking about them bridling up a 25-pound, yellowfin. Is it just that when you're fishing in deep water conditions like that, you just can't fish a bigger bait? Or have you ever tried it? You ever experimented with just fishing like a really big bait and seeing if you could get a really big swordfish?
Yeah, I do it at night still. I'll put big baits out at nighttime. The main problem you have in the daytime of putting a large bait down is the drag that the bait creates by being, but then you have to add a lot of weight to it, which makes your whole rig heavy.
Jacked up.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
The style of fish, I mean, it's doable. And I've done it before, but I've fished some really big, like strip baits too. I've 2-hook rigs and stuff just to get big. But honestly, like the grade of fish that we typically have in the Gulf, I feel like you just got better chances running the normal size bait with the same size as the stuff that you find in their belly. I mean, the biggest swordfish that I've caught, all of them have had little squids and little eels. And,
right, those 12-inch silver eels in them and stuff. You're talking about giant baits.
Yeah, they're eating the same stuff. I've only had a handful of fish that have had any kind of large fish in its stomach.
Interesting.
So do they eat big stuff? Oh, absolutely. Sure they do. But for the purposes of getting a hook inside of their mouth and a spot to come out, I think a smaller bait's the way to go. I mean, look at Nick Stanzik's 750 whatever pounder he caught. He caught it on a little strip. I mean, that's what they're eating. You know?
Yeah, that's good points, man. All right, well, let's switch gears off swordfish a little bit. You've been still running some nearshore trips. I mean, how are things in a little bit closer? You starting to see the pelagic bite pick up, and what about those nearshore trips?
Yeah, man. It's been good. I went out today and did a little 8-hour trip, and the bait fishing was it was all right. Caught plenty of cigar minnows and a couple hardtails, and I was talking to a couple buddies, and then they were saying that the bait fishing has been really good. That's kind of embarrassing to say. That's the first time I've caught bait this year, but yeah, man, it's good. And I mean, the water even out there, the water is beautiful and close right now. It really is really pretty. I actually heard a boat on the radio say that they had a wahoo in there swimming around the boat today. This is out around the edge, and said that they couldn't get it to eat anything, so they kind of threw chunks to it, and got it close enough and free gaffed it.
Wow.
So it's 70 pounds.
Holy mackerel.
Best thing, man.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I would like to have seen somebody do that. I don't know that I would have liked to have done it.
Oh yeah,
but I'd like to see somebody free gaff a 70-pound wahoo.
I would live for the day that happened. But yeah, good, man. It's good fishing. The bottom bite was great today. I mean, it's May, man. It's awesome. Always awesome in May.
Yeah, awesome.
A bunch of mahi with y'all last week. That was fun.
Yeah. We're hopefully find some more of those tomorrow offshore. I did. There's quite a bit of grass around, near shore and getting a little offshore around the edge. I mean, we looked today searched a few patches to see if we could find any chickens or anything, and I mean, there was not even any bait on any of it. So
the water in there close, still a little cooler in there close, or is it pretty warm? I mean, warm enough for them to be there.
It was like 76,
okay.
77. Yeah, it's ideal, man. It's great. It's not, not seeing a whole lot of flying fish. No, I actually didn't see any today, which is kind of odd for having that much grass, and the water, I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. And that's, I don't know. It looks great, but for the point of view, I don't know. It's just kind of odd. It's just weird, weird water.
Cool. Very cool, man. Well, congrats again on the win, and really just sounds like an epic couple of days of sword fishing. So appreciate you sharing that report. We like to wrap it up with a tip. So what are you thinking this week, Adam? What's stuck out to you on the sword fishing side of things for an offshore tip this week?
Man, I just, like going back to the altimetry discussion, I kind of wanted to clarify that a little bit because, for those that aren't super plugged into that, you might not really understand what we're saying. Altimetry is a very broad area of water. It's a gradual change. We're talking about sea surface height and upwellings and downwellings. And it's not like you can just be like, well, I'm going to move 10 miles and be in good altimetry now. It's a large area. So, when I say the spur was in bad altimetry, yes, it was, but it's not like I can just run over to the steps and be in great altimetry now. So I guess my tip would be if altimetry is what you think is wrong, it's going to take a big move to correct that because don't be afraid to make a big move, I guess is what I would say, because it's a broad piece of water you're looking at. It's not just like a move a few miles and you're in good altimetry now. Just wanted to clarify that just so it didn't mislead anybody.
That's a great tip, man. That's a great point. And I think for guys that don't go blue water fishing as much as you do, and, I just think about myself. I tend to think about things in terms of spots. It's like a snapper spot, an inshore spot. And it's like, oh, this spot's not good, so let me move to another spot. And I really did in my mind. I was thinking of altimetry the same way. It's like, oh, well, this is this spot on a map. And really what you're saying is it's more like a region on a map. And you've got to make that big
kind
jog.
of situation.
Yeah, big move. And for some people, it may just mean that, if you don't have the capability in your craft or the time or whatever it may be, it just may mean it's just not going to be that good this weekend. Might want to do something else if the altimetry is really, really bad where you need to go fishing and wait for the time when it gets better. But, man, we can talk about this stuff all day long, but nothing beats getting on the water with somebody like yourself and being able to ask you these kind of questions and learn these kind of things out there. So if folks want to get hooked up with you, see what this sword fishing thing's all about, you also got a couple boats, run near shore trips there out of Destin. How can they get in touch with you and see what kind of availability you got, both on trips and on dates?
Yeah, man. Best thing to do is just give us a call. They can check out our website, which is www.oneshotcharters.com. It's got our contact info, email, phone, social media, all that good stuff. And it's pretty explanatory on all the trips we offer. But yeah, that's the best way. Check that out. Give us a call. Myself or my wife, Cadence, can help you out, and hopefully we can go fishing together.
All right, Adam. Thanks a lot, man. Always enjoy having you on.
Yeah, man. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Cap. Until next time.
Butch, I remember how pumped we were when we caught the first swordfish, the first few swordfish. I mean, really, I'm pumped every time I catch one. But I
For sure,
remember
man.
we thought we were the stuff when we caught we were catching a few swordfish
Couple.
a summer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A summer.
well,
over
no,
the-
yeah,
That's true, though.
we were not catching 16 swordfish a summer, much less in 2
No.
days.
I think the best trip that I ever had, we caught 3 in one night, and 2 of them were doubles, but we couldn't get the other 2 hooked up. You know what I mean? They were following each other up. So we saw 6. I think that math works out. You know how my numbers work, man. I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, we don't want to ask you to do the math right here.
But I've never seen and or had 6, much less 16 bites. That's nuts. Or 18 bites for that matter.
Yeah, very nuts.
Well,
Yeah.
Tom was talking about earlier, the guys over in that tournament catching 5 or 6 blue marlin. Same thing, man. I can remember my tournament fishing days. You tag 4, you knew you were gold. I mean, there was nobody that could touch your stuff. Shake and bake. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's crazy to think about. Just the people, I should have said it during Tom's segment, but man, people are just so good at fishing now. The technology is so nuts. It's just a different ball game. It's not even close.
I'm just really glad that I did my fishing back when everybody sucked at it like me.
For sure.
I don't have to compete.
Bar-
now.
the,
Yeah,
the
I don't
bar
have
was
to-
real low.
The bar was super low.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
All
we
right,
needed
guys,
that.
I really am going to leave this time.
All right, whatever, man. I don't believe you, but I'll see you next time.
Enjoyed it.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. You'll take a quick minute and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Admiral Shellfish. Admiral oysters are available at select restaurants and can also be purchased by the public at Bon Secours Fisheries, Inc. and Ahi Seafood in Fairhope, Alabama. Call for availability. From a simple, nutrient-dense appetizer at home or a shucking party with friends, Admiral oysters will steal the show. Follow their adventures on Instagram at Admiral Shellfish Co. And also Sam's Stop and Shop. Sam's Stop and Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Sam's also has tackle experts and podcast contributors Chris Becce and Dusty Hayes on hand to answer any questions you may have about any type of local fishing and can also repair your rods and reels if necessary. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today. And also, Ricciardoni Family Dentistry. You're going to need a good dentist, so you may as well make an appointment with fellow angler Josh Ricciardoni. He provides services for all ages and accepts most dental insurances. Do not let an achy tooth ruin a day on the water. Call today to book an appointment at 251-342-6672. All right, Captain Patrick, we got to do what did you learn before you get out of here today, man? What'd you pick up from today's show? A lot of good info, man. A lot of good reports. We covered a lot of ground. We went all the way from Orange Beach all the way over to west of the Mississippi River catching swordfish.
I really wanted to dig a little bit into that swordfish and stuff. Joe and you are asking good questions, and I think we needed to wrap it up. But man, there's a lot of that swordfish and stuff that interests me.
Hours and hours of conversation we could have had for sure.
Yeah,
especially with Captain Adam. Good Lord, he's the gladiator of swordfish fishing, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, man, the one thing that's sticking out to me is that there's enough action and activity throughout any type of system that you want to fish in that it sounds like you can go and really learn and hone your skills, maybe find some new spots, whatever, like anything to just add another layer of, just of expertise to your fishing skills. If you just say you live on Mobile Bay and you've got an area of the bay that you've always been curious about and you've never gone there and ventured in to check it out, right now is the time to go do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went to a brand new area, throwing the lures that you like to throw or live bait or whatever, and you go and catch 2 or 3 fish in an area, man, it could really start, opening up some more doors for you and
broadening your horizons.
Yeah. And I think, everybody talked about that there's kind of opportunities all over the place right now. So
for sure, stretch your legs a little bit, get out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Absolutely. It really is a small window of time where we get to say, hey, there's a lot going on and it's kind of all over the place. And right now is that time. So in my opinion, don't just go to the particular place where you think you're going to catch them if you caught them, and then just put it on the trailer. Like
Right.
go or walk in the beach or whatever. Don't just go and catch fish in one spot. Go and venture out and really learn something right now. And it's the time to do it. That's what I learned. I mean, everybody would seem to be talking that game.
Yep, I definitely agree, man. And what I have written down over here is Bama Beach Bum saying go scout for a day, which kind of lines up with exactly what you're saying. Broaden your horizons a little bit, find some new areas. You know, if you got some friends coming in town or you got 7 days to fish or 5 days to fish, you don't even have to burn a day like we're talking about. Just pick up something mobile as far as walking the beach and finding gullies and cuts, pick up your diamond jig and get some exercise and explore those new areas. And the same thing goes with the inshore fishing right now. It sounds like you're talking about stretch your legs a little bit. You know, we all have our spots, right? We all have our go-to hammers that we know we can go to and catch a few fish, especially whenever the fish are spread out and thick like they are right now. But don't end it there. Go for more spots. You know, you can broaden those horizons for, especially if you have a spot that sets up perfect for X. You know, you can duplicate that this time of year with X. Go and do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And thing is like the question I asked Richard about, you know, coming up on this weekend where we're going to have lower water going to higher water in the afternoon. Guess what? It's going to be different next weekend. So figure out, you know, look at all that stuff and think about that when you're going out there and you know, and trying out some new areas and just bettering yourself as an angler.
Yep. That's what makes a fisherman, not a spot fisherman, in my opinion, is doing exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And just, I'm a serious planner. Like I'm always planning on, all right, what's the water going to do? What's the wind going to do? What's, you know, where's the better water quality? Where should the fish be? Blah, blah, blah. But once I'm on the water, I'm like in full reaction mode at that point. Then it's like, all right, there's bait here. The water quality is terrible here. It's better over this way. And there's good water quality and bait over here, and just constantly making those adjustments to make it happen.
Yep. Makes sense, man. Great reports. Great tips today. Great reports. I appreciate you being a part of it. Thanks for co-hosting with me, man. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. We bounced back and forth from Northwest Florida back to here a couple times. It's a good show.
Covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
All right, folks, that wraps up another great segment. Let's take a quick minute, check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by the Triple Tail Championship. The Triple Tail Championship. Come join anglers from across the nation to find out who the best triple tail fishermen around are during the Triple Tail Championship. Compete in multiple categories nationwide as well as regional categories. They have a division for average Joes as well as kids. You can go to www.tripletailchampionship.com for more information. The Triple Tail Championship is sponsored by Irish Wake Fishing, Alamorada Boatworks, Cajun Custom Rods, KillerDock, Smith Optics, Chandelier Brewing, and Saltwater Fanatics. Also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. They offer 20 Sherwin-Williams colors to choose from and have a 40-year warranty. Baker Metal and Dixie Supply, two names, same great service. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. All right, Captain Patrick, it's always a pleasure co-hosting with you, man. Thanks for joining us today. Like you said, we covered a lot of ground and water today as well.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure.
Man,
absolute pleasure, man. I love being on here and talking fishing, listening, and being able to ask a few questions from these experts, man. They're everybody that we get on here is, you know, somebody that's dialed into what they're doing. They're not out there just drifting around, just hanging out, just chilling. I mean, every one of them are trying to dig down into the nitty gritty as to why each of these fish are biting and all that. So the tips are endless.
Yep. I love this thing, man. Glad you're a part of it with us. And if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, I know it's about to rack off. It's May. I would assume your busy season is upon us.
Yep. May's booked, June's booked, and only a couple days left in July. But first and easiest way to get involved and check my schedule is uglyfishing.com. You can click the book now button. You can see my calendar. But check periodically. Sometimes somebody might have a cancellation or something, and as soon as I cancel that date, it opens up. So I've got some customers that that regularly check the calendar, and they'll scoop up an open date. And that's just something that works out usually. And if it runs late and we're getting close to that date that opens up, then usually I'll put something out there on Instagram or Facebook or something like that to notify everybody that, I've got an opening. Or you can give me a call, shoot me a text, 251-747-1554. I appreciate it, dude.
All right, buddy. All right. That wraps up another great show, folks. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll talk to y'all next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Test Calibration. Test Calibration is your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibratondieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last right here in the USA. They offer high quality, easy to use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. And also brought to you by Fishbites. Are you tired of stinking baits? Fishbites don't stink or leave a stink on hands and everything else. Won't come off the hook during a hard cast or in rough waters. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits and tackle at fishbites.com.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo Depaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
And also brought to you by boaterslist.com. If you own or run a boat, you know how difficult it can be to find the right company for the task at hand. Sign up at boaterslist.com to find a company to work with on your next boat project. And also brought to you by Bahio Sunglasses. See more, catch more. Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio Sunglasses. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out bahiosunglasses.com to see for yourself. And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report was brought to you by me, Joe Baya, and National Land Realty. If I can help you in any way with the purchase or sale of land in Alabama or Florida, whether it's timberland, farmland, recreational land like hunting land, or even agricultural land or ranch land like horse farm, drop me a message at jbaya@nationalland.com. That's JBAYA@nationalland.com.